Welcome to the program. I'm Layo Adegoke. We begin in Ethiopia, where Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed says he will be leading his troops from the battlefront as the year-long conflict moves closer to Addis Ababa. In a statement posted late on Monday, Mr. Abiy said starting today, he will mobilize to the front to lead the defense forces. Now, this comes after the ruling Prosperity Party's executive committee met on Monday to discuss the war. The defense minister told local media after the meeting that security forces would be embarking on a different action over the Tigray conflict. However, the Tigray's People Liberation Front has dismissed Mr. Abiy's statement, with his spokesperson saying that the TPLF forces will not relent. Joining us now for more on this is Bekele Woyecha. He's a member of Defend Ethiopia UK. He joins us now live from London. Thank you for speaking to us on the program.
Thanks for having me.
Well, is the Prime Minister really serious about turning this crisis into a war?
He is not actually turning this crisis into a war. He is going to address the crisis because it needs leadership, and it is in his duty to actually take up this responsibility entrusted on him by 150 million Ethiopians. So the Prime Minister is leading by example. He is doing what is expected by the Ethiopian people. So he is leading us by example.
Well, the government has once denied the movement of the Tigrayan forces towards Addis, and security forces in the capital say there is enough security within the capital to be able to repel any invasion. What are you hearing? Is that still the case? Has security heightened in Addis?
It's really important that, Ethiopia is fighting, two battles or two wars at the same time. One is the fight against the group, TPLF terrorist group, which is designated a terrorist group by the Ethiopian parliament. That's number one. And number two, a very coordinated media campaign, especially by the Western media apparatus, blackmailing Ethiopia, spreading fake news about Ethiopia, fear-mongering, and all these things really had impact. So it's vital for Ethiopians around Ethiopia to be vigilant. But at the same time, we should be very clear. I remember one of the media outlets, if need be, CNN, mentioned that, the rebel forces were outside Addis a couple of weeks ago, which was a lie. And they have been keeping lying and lying and lying. The Western media parts have been spreading lies for the past 1 year, I should say. So there would be fear. They wanted to actually spread fear. So to avert that, we needed to tighten the security, not only in Addis, but around Ethiopia. And it's important because by the end of the day, the government is responsible to defend its people. And that's what the government is doing.
Well, we know negotiations are still ongoing with mediators, the AU. Is there likely going to be a solution soon before this turns into a full-blown war?
This is a very important question. Ethiopian government has been elected most recently. The government has got the mandate of the Ethiopian people. That's what's important. And nowhere in the world a government has been asked to negotiate with the terrorist group. TPLF has been designated by the Ethiopian parliament as a terrorist group. So how could you expect a positive negotiation with a group that's designated as a terrorist group? There is one thing important. Is it because we are an African country? You know, the fight Ethiopia is fighting now is not only about a fight for Ethiopia. It's about the Horn of Africa. It's about the wider Africa. It's about the Black people around the world. It's about our dignity. We cannot and should not expect orders actually to be sent to us from Washington, London, or Brussels. You know, and that we cannot actually live as they want us to live. We have to live in accordance with our own rules and regulations and the laws of our countries. So as per the Ethiopian law, TPLF terrorist group is a terrorist group. And how could you expect negotiation with a terrorist group? Who has done it in their history? For instance, I'm actually in discussion with you in Nigeria. Does the Nigerian government negotiate with a terrorist group? The answer would be no. So we would not expect positive negotiation with a terrorist group, but we want to sort out this crisis in the way that every Ethiopian is convinced, and the Ethiopian government is responsible for delivering that. That's what the Prime Minister is doing. That's what the Ethiopian government is doing. And remember, the Ethiopian government has got the mandate. It's got the support. If you followed what happened around the world most recently, especially on Sunday, people around the world came out in support of the law enforcement actions of the government, saying no more, because we can no more take it. We can no more take instruction from Washington or London or New York. So we say no more intervention, no more neocolonialism. It's about neocolonialism. Ethiopia is fighting for economic independence. You know, we had our political independence in the past. We are fighting for economic independence, and we are having too much pressure, undue pressure from the Western political apparatus in cooperation with main media stream.
All right then, Bekele Woyecha, member of Defend Ethiopia UK, thank you for speaking to us.
Thank you so much.
We continue our conversation on Ethiopia. We have security analyst David Otto joining us now from our Abuja studios. What are your thoughts? Ethiopian Prime Minister saying he will himself go to the front line to face the TPLF in this crisis. What does this mean for the crisis in Tigray? This is a conflict that is more than a year old.
You're very correct. You know, this is a conflict which has, lasted now for more than a year. And one of the things which we continuously see is a lot of rhetorics, a lot of things which I consider to be, propaganda, which is not useful. The last time a president said, they were going to the war front, we saw that in Chad. That was the former president Idris Deby, and it did not end well. I mean, that's for those who believe that version of him dying in the line of fire. But what I think is it is not necessary to get to the point. But I understand the strategic communication here, because first of all, Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed had called on Ethiopians to defend the capital. It does make sense for him now to turn up and say, I would lead from the front, and this is a way of pumping up the morale of Ethiopians to defend the territory against the TPLF and the OLA, that's the Oromo Liberation Army. But I think this is a war that needs to end. We are talking about the seat of the African Union here. If Ethiopia is in instability, as we've seen, then the entire Africa, is in jeopardy. I mean, Ethiopia sits in a very strategic location. So we do not want to see the continuation of a field battle between the Ethiopian Defense Forces and the other factions, being the Tigray Liberation Forces and the OLA. What I think should be done is that we've got to see negotiations taking place. I don't buy the idea that they will not negotiate with the Tigray Liberation Forces because they're terrorists. I mean, there are lots of examples. The US has negotiated with the Taliban, and they're now in power. The UK government also negotiated with the real Republican army, the IRA, and of course they're also in power. So I don't think you know, this rhetoric of, you know, we will not negotiate with terrorists is useful. It is not useful for Ethiopians, it's not useful for the region, and it is not useful for the continent.
One thing is clear, there needs to be a quick solution to the crisis. Well, we'd like to thank you, security analyst David Otto. Thank you for speaking to us.
Thank you.
Moving on to other stories now. Police say that 7 suspects have been killed and 106 people detained during operations by the security services linked to